In Christopher Berglund's article, Debunking Neuromyths, he explains 8 common ideas about the brain that many people believe to be true. In addition to his explanations, other supplemental material from this course provides support disproving these inaccurate concepts. When considering one myth, I often found connections to many other myths, which shows how various parts of the brain are not only physically connected, but conceptually connected as well. One of the myths that Berglund mentioned in his article was that a person's learning occurs through the addition of new cells to the brain. Berglund briefly clarified that learning occurs when connections are established between cells in the brain. In multiple chapters of How We Learn by Benedict Carey, it is explained how memory can be strengthened, ultimately resulting in faster speed and stronger retrieval of information. The various experiments shared in this book further demonstrate that the brain stores information and understands concepts by using existing cells in the brain. And through a complex system of cell connections, the storage of information can be strengthened to be retrieved in the future. In the introduction to How We Learn, Carey explains that when a memory is created, one cell connects to another. And when this memory is retrieved, those cells fire together. In the first chapter, Carey mentions that the brain contains 100 billion neurons, and these can link together to create networks capable of storing information. This means, in electrical terms, the brain has the capacity to store up to 3 million television shows. And what this demonstrates is that the brain already has all of the cells that it needs to store an incredibly large amount of information. The brain also has a process in place to filter out unnecessary information, like a spam filter. In Chapter 2, Carey explained that forgetting information is actually beneficial to learning rather than detrimental. He said that forgetting is similar to putting brain cells through exercises. When you exercise a muscle, it gains size and strength. When you exercise an existing brain cell, it also improves in strength. It's not physically growing, but its network grows as it becomes connected to other cells. This idea that learning occurs when brain cells form connections is further reinforced when considering effective studying techniques. The type of studying that works the best is ultimately when a person does something that signals a specific group of cells, or allows the brain to create additional neuron connections, expanding the network of cells involved in this particular memory. Another myth mentioned in Berglund's article is that the capacity of our brains is set through genetics, and environment or experience cannot change that capacity. Understanding effective studying techniques further proves this statement to be a myth. When studying, we are adding details to the network of memories, strengthening the signals between cells and allowing these memories to be stored for longer and retrieved faster. These details are completely dependent on the environment or experience. In the first chapter of How We Learned, it was suggested that it is important for a person to switch up their studying routine, change the time of day, the location, or even the background noise as a person is reviewing material. The material being studied may already be stored in the brain, but by changing the environment, more brain cells are being brought into the existing memory. More connections are then formed, and original connections are strengthened with the help of contextual clues. This strategy relies on existing cells in the brain, bringing them together to form unique connections to help store and retrieve information. In the journal article, Improving Students' Learning with Effective Learning Techniques, it was explained that practice testing is an effective way for students to learn and review material. This concept was also explained in Chapter 5 of How We Learn. What both of these texts described was that when a person doesn't feel confident in their comprehension of material, testing can actually improve their comprehension more effectively than another session of review. The reason for the success of this studying strategy connects back to how brain cells work to store memories. When a person is testing their knowledge, they are asking their brain to retrieve a memory. When the brain fails to retrieve that memory, that's when they get a question incorrect. But this doesn't mean that the knowledge isn't there. Instead, by failing to retrieve that memory, those neurons involved will then bring in additional cells, creating a stronger network that will more easily be retrieved the next time. What all of this supplemental material proves is that learning does not depend on new brain cells, but rather the brain's ability to form new connections between existing brain cells. The brain already has the structures and materials needed. It just needs the right environment and exercise to use the materials in the most productive way possible.